want to start by talking about Coach Majerus. Uh, I think certain things kind of take priority, and obviously, Coach was from the Milwaukee area. I played there for 5 years, coached there for 3 years, and saw him at so many of our practices, training camp, and deeply saddened by his passing, as we all are. But when I think of Coach Majerus, I just think of, savant is a word, but if there was a definition for basketball junkie, you talk about it, his organization, and it was just eat, sleep, and drink basketball. And the relationships, I think, within his basketball teams were an extension of his family. It was very important to him, whichever team he was on. And I've talked to countless people that played for him, coached with him, and Rick did it his way. Wasn't interested in making everybody happy, but if you were in his circle, if you were part of that basketball fraternity that he was a part of, then he had a special way to touch everybody. And we talked about it at practice yesterday when practice was over, and a lot of the players that we have on the team now were obviously in diapers when some of the great things were going on here. But I can't help but think I've thought about him. Walking in and out of that office, going up and down the spiral staircase to get to the floor, walking outside where he's parked his car right outside the front door, and thought about him being who could possibly coach a basketball team and stay in a Marriott. It's just classic to me that he wanted to be near the campus. He didn't want any confusion with rent or anything. He's a leader in the world for Marriott points. And, he just did it his way. Tell it like it is. And it's really odd for me because as I'm getting older now, I don't remember my dreams anymore. I have a couple of weekly dreams where I'm flying and doing some things, but it was maybe 3 weeks ago, and I told Dr. Hill I had the most vivid dream of Coach Majerus, perfectly healthy, and the dream to me lasted a couple of hours. We literally spent an afternoon together in this dream, and I don't know the nature of it or what it was all about, but it wasn't long after that I talked to Chris and John Huntsman and some people about, hey, let's bring him back. Let's bring him back and honor him. I fly all over the country recruiting and doing various things, and I'll run into people with my Utah gear on, and it's unbelievable how many people want to know where Rick is. They remember. So he's the prime character in the Utah basketball book, really. If you think about Utah basketball, Rick Majerus, he's the first name that comes to mind. I have a lot of respect for Andrew Bogut and Andre Miller and Keith Van Horn and all those guys, but I'm sure they would agree with me that Rick Majerus is really a big part of the definition of Utah basketball. And I'm honored to be coaching and to be in his seat and be in charge of these young men. And I'm gonna be motivated, and I'm gonna be touched by Rick's ability and what he did, and I'm gonna try to be like Rick. I'm gonna try to coach and live up to that standard that was set. And the last thing I'll say about Rick, I think, kind of comes to when you're playing or you're coaching or whatever you're doing. I always played, and I made that comment a lot as I was playing, is you try to play every game like it's your last one. You never really know. You don't want to play a game and then find out it's your last game and then realize that you didn't give your full effort and your full attention to detail. And for me as a player, I always played that way. It was pretty easy because you could just lay it on the line. But it's very difficult for a coach to do that. And Rick lived by that same mantra where, and I could see it in his eyes when they were in the NCAA tournament last year. And I really had a feeling that he knew his health better than any of us, and he probably knew that was his last game coaching. But he went out in grand fashion, obviously would have wanted to win that last game. But he prepared, he coached, he did everything basketball-wise like it was his last go-round. And I know he's up there smiling, knowing that he didn't shortchange anybody along the way. Again, didn't always make everybody happy, but I think that's a trait that a lot of us would like to have at times too, and just be able to say, you know, I'm not worried about what you're thinking. He's worried about winning games. So we're going to try to carry on here, and we weren't able to bring Rick back for a special game, obviously, but his spirit's still in the building, and I know we're going to be motivated by it. We're going to wear a little something on our uniforms the remainder of the season, and it's going to provide us some inspiration. You know, it's unfortunate sometimes somebody has to pass, and then you start putting things in perspective, but that's kind of the way it goes. And Rick's passing is going to inspire us and motivate us, and I think we're going to be a better team forward in the long run.
How big is this week for your basketball team and taking that next step in kind of the natural progression of playing better competition? You've got one at home Wednesday, and you've got a rivalry game on Saturday.
Well, it's huge, Bill. It's you know, it really looks like the conference season started in terms of quality of play. Boise State is an absolute machine. Leon Rice done a great job coaching them up there. You know, they're these next two opponents are as good at two offensive teams as I think they're in the top 20 in the country, what they do offensively. And, you know, that's no exaggeration. They flat out shoot it and run and execute. And so we're going to have our hands full. We haven't seen this kind of firepower before. Our defensive stats are pretty good. Our offense is behind our defense. But, again, we haven't played this kind of offensive team. It's going to be a huge challenge for us to guard early in the clock, late in the clock, and obviously on Saturday night in a hostile environment.
What'd you see in Texas last week that you liked, didn't like, moving forward? Anything in particular?
Well, the SMU game, you know, we started off pretty strong, went on a little, you know, I found out that the offense is behind the defense. We got, you know, a physical team in SMU that was on the road. It's going to be a little more physical. It's not always going to be a foul. And we didn't respond very well. But it was right there in front of us. It's really easy. We get back to the hotel room. You try to figure out how it went from 39-39 to 52-41. And it's not like, you know, we're trying to reinvent the wheel. It's if you can't handle pressure at this position and you try to make a pass over there off balance, then it's not going to work. You know, so it's coachable moments that we can get better at. What we need to do in practice is create some more of that pressure. We don't always play with, you know, extending to 25 feet and making things difficult for teams. So you get in a little bit of a comfort zone playing a certain way. And then we saw even more of a ramped up version of that pressure at Texas State. It was very much a scramble, athleticism, trying to get you to turn it over. And I thought we responded pretty well. We had a pretty strong film session in San Marcos on the bus, or when we got there off the bus, had a spirited practice, and we had a nice short shoot around Friday morning. And then our guys came out focused, and for the most part, we didn't turn it over as many times as we could have in that game. But it was nice to get a road win, you know, go back, check into your hotel, and feel good about what you'd accomplished. But it's pretty short-lived, you know. It's on to another tough week. But it was just kind of good getting that miniature little monkey off our back and knowing that we could win on the road.